Hey everyone, I'm Coach Shannon, and today's class or this presentation will be on fat loss. So I'm excited to share some simple and effective strategies to help you understand and manage body fat. This presentation is especially for those who are new to fitness and might be confused about the differences between weight loss and fat loss. So let's dive in. So we're going to cover body fat versus body weight. What is fat for? How is that stored? How fat is burned? How to measure body fat and how to test your body fat. So, firstly, let's clarify the difference between body weight and body fat. Body weight is everything your body is comprised of, such as muscles, bones, organs, water, and fat. It's the number you see on the scale. However, it's not just fat in your body, it's everything included. So when you want to measure only body fat is specifically the percentage of your total weight that is fat. So if you're trying to lose fat, focus on body fat percentage, not body weight. So your scale will be your worst enemy in that regard. Now, what exactly is fat for and how much energy is available? So fat isn't just something you want to lose. It actually serves an important function. It stores energy, insulates our body, protects our vital organs, and even supports our immune system. So for example, 1 pound or roughly half a kilo of fat stores about 3,500 calories of energy. So a typical healthy individual with moderate levels of body fat has around 84,000 calories of stored energy, which could last around a whole month worth of food. That's why you can go about 30 days without food. So when you say that you haven't eaten in 8 hours or 12 hours and you're starving, you're actually not starving. You will not starve for quite some time. So keep that in mind whenever you reach for those snacks or feel like you have to eat. How much fat is too much? While I indicated fat is necessary, too much can lead to health problems. For women, a healthy body percentage is between 25 to 31%. And for men, which we'll see on the next page, is 18 to 24. Going above these ranges, specifically for women, can increase heart disease, and going below these amounts, specifically below the 12 to 14% level, is also detrimental and can in fact impact hormonal issues such as amenorrhea or loss of your period or period irregularity. These are the images for men. So again, for men, it's 18 to 24%. So they're going to be in these ranges here. And then there's nothing hormonally affected too much at the lower levels, since men only have testosterone they really have to worry about. But in the higher levels, definitely risk of heart disease and other diseases. All right. Next, we have the different types of fat. So not all fat is the same. We have visceral fat, which is found around the organs and is linked to heart or health risks, but it's the easier fat to burn. So it's the easiest to get rid of. Then next we have subcutaneous fat, which is the fat underneath our skin. And this is harder to lose, but is also less harmful. So understanding these types helps in targeting fat loss more effectively. This also is where cellulite comes into play, and that's triggered primarily via estrogen, and its location is more genetic or hereditary. So there's no clear definitive reason as to the cause of cellulite, but it is definitely more prominent due to estrogen levels. So it's more prominent in women than men. And a low level of body fat may not necessarily remove cellulite, and something such as adjusting your diet, pH balance, and skin brushing can help. Now let's look at metabolism, which is all the various chemical reactions that the body has to do. And keep up with 24/7 that keep you alive. It's the food being turned into energy, that energy being burned off to keep your hair growing, your heart beating, your liver pumping out bile, and your lungs transferring oxygen into your bloodstream. Now, your basal metabolic rate, or your BMR, is the total number of calories that your body needs to perform basic life-sustaining functions. And these basal functions include that circulation, breathing, cell reproduction, nutrient processing, protein synthesis, ion transport, and a host of others. So if you were laying in a coma doing absolutely nothing, you would have a basal metabolic rate, or a certain amount of calories your body would burn to keep you alive in a 24-hour period. Your resting metabolic rate is the rate at which your body burns energy when it is completely at rest. So if you were just sitting as opposed to laying down or sleeping. And then your total daily energy expenditure is the total number of calories or energy you burn during a day. And this is in conjunction with your regular daily activities. So just getting out of bed in the morning, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, using the restroom, brewing your pot of coffee, all of that requires energy. Even doing activities such as computer work using your brain is burning glucose, and those calories have to come from somewhere as well. So chess players, for example, burn hundreds of calories an hour just from playing chess. This is a quote from me: "The secret to fat loss is consistency and discipline. There is no magic pill, hack, or special trick. You have to do the work, period." So if you're looking for some easy way out, there is none. Now let's look at how is fat burned. We kind of covered this before. And as I mentioned, fat is oxidative, meaning in order to be burned, it must be mixed with oxygen. The best fat burning exercises are those that require oxygen, aerobic versus anaerobic. Aerobic will burn more calories during the exercise, whereas anaerobic will burn more after the exercise.
There are some things in life that when they're around, we wish they weren't there, and when they're gone, we're just glad they left. For many of us, one of those things is fat. But your fat tissue is full of important biological molecules called lipids, long, stringy compounds of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen that are great at storing energy in their chemical bonds. When the molecules are broken apart, they release the energy stored in their bonds. We often refer to this process as burning fat. But when you burn fat, where does that material, the actual stuff that jiggles around and cushions you and insulates you, where does it go? Interestingly enough, a recent survey of doctors, dietitians, and physical trainers revealed that even the experts in fat loss didn't know the answer, although they thought they did. More than 50% of the respondents thought that when you burn fat, all that mass is simply converted into energy and lost as heat. It's a common misconception, but it's not possible. I mean, just because you don't like something doesn't mean that the laws of chemistry don't apply to it, and one of the basic principles of chemistry is the conservation of mass. This just means that the same amount of material always comes out of a reaction as goes into it. Even if that reaction happens to generate heat, you'll wind up with the same number of each kind of atom that you started with. So when you break up those lipids in your fat cells and release their energy, all of that hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen in those molecules will still be there afterward. But if you burn a lot of fat and it's not there anymore to hold your pants up or whatever, where did the mass go? Turns out, you exhaled it. Biologists at the University of New South Wales recently did an atom-by-atom breakdown of where the mass of your fat goes after it's burned in your body. They found that for every 10 kilograms of fat that you burn, you have to inhale 29 kilograms of oxygen to metabolize or break down the fat and release its energy. And the process of breaking down that much fat produces 28 kilograms of carbon dioxide and 11 kilograms of water. So for every kilo of fat that you burn in your body, more than 80% of that mass is lost as carbon dioxide that you breathe out. The other 20% you lose as water, in your urine, your sweat, or depending on how hard you work out, your tears. But if you do the math, you'll see that all the mass in that fat-burning reaction has been conserved. 10 kilos of fat plus 29 kilos of oxygen equals 39 kilos total, and together they produce 28 kilos of CO2 plus 11 of water, which also equals 39 kilos. So remember that the next time you're huffing and sweating on a treadmill or walking your dog or really doing anything that makes your body call on its energy reserves. You're basically just emanating fat through your breath and your skin. But
hopefully that gives you a little science to understand how this takes place. But essentially, like I just mentioned, you have to have some form of oxygen to go into the body to cause this to take place. All right, now let's look at ways that we can measure fat, because remember, now that we know we want to lose fat and not just weight, the best way to ensure we're doing that is we have to actually measure our body fat. So we're going to take a look at the least accurate to the most accurate, and things you can use at home on your own or should have access to. Well, first, let me tell you what these are. So we have tape measures, skin calipers, body fat scale, hydrostatic dunk tank, air displacement therapy, and a biopod or DEXA scans. All right, so first is the skin caliper. So skin calipers are basically like a small plastic, sometimes metal device that allows you to pinch different areas of the body and you measure the thickness of those skin folds. And essentially this is measuring the subcutaneous fat that we identified previously. So it's not going to be able to measure visceral fat. So this is one of the least accurate, but I think we skipped over tape measure. So yeah, tape measure is the absolute least accurate, but it's something that you can find easily. You can even print out your own tape measure on a printer if you don't have access to one. And there is a long drawn out formula. You can look this up on your own, but it'll give you a rough estimate of your body fat and how you calculate that and what areas of the body you'll need to measure to get it. Next is the skin caliper that I just mentioned, and there are different tests for this. There's three site measurements, 5, 7, even 9. So the more sites you measure, the more accuracy, and it comes to the most accurate is within like plus or minus 3 to 5%. So it's a decent amount of accuracy, and these skin calipers can be less than $10. These have become much more popular, and probably, even though they're more expensive than the skin calipers and tape measure, more people are relying on this due to smart devices. So it's called a body fat scale or a smart scale. Most scales nowadays will have a way to measure body fat. Essentially, it sends a electrical signal through the base of your feet. Some of the scales you can actually hold a handheld device as well, and it sends a signal, and that signal, depending on what type of tissue it impacts or interacts with, it will speed up or slow down, and then a calculation is made to know if it's muscle mass, water, fat, things of that nature. So these will actually measure a lot of different things, even bone density, all sorts of stuff. Fairly accurate. Now, next is the hydrostatic dunk tank, or hydrodensity metry, something like that, is a weighing method where you sit undressed in a chair that's submerged in water. Your body density or weight underwater is recorded as your body places a buoyant counterforce on the water and displaces it. The weight recorded can be used to calculate your body fat percentage. So it's basically measuring what you weigh underwater versus out of water, and then they can determine what is fat from that. And this is actually extremely accurate. Just pretty inconvenient because you're not going to find these like any and everywhere. Next, which has come onto the market and a lot of clinics will have these, is like a bod pod or biopod. It's something that you get in, and it basically calculates your body density and is determined through your weight and volume. The machine uses this data to calculate your body fat. So it does a couple of other measurements as well. And I think even some of them use like infrared and other things to actually calculate. And they're usually accurate within like 1% of body fat. Next will be the most accurate is the MRI or CT scans, or even the DEXA scan, where this is using thermo imaging and magnetic resonance to get cross-sectional images of the body, and can even measure intra-abdominal fat. These are less than or more than 99%, like 99.5 or 99.4, something like that. Extremely accurate. All right. So now that you know what to do and how to do, it's important that you actually put this into practice. So I would urge you, if your goal is to look and feel better, then you are going to want to target fat loss. Again, there are healthy levels to maintain, and you don't want to go too far down and lose too much fat, but your body will feel and move better and you'll have more energy the less fat you have on your body. So in order to do that, you're going to have to measure that and start understanding how your body is gaining fat and how to lose it. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you in the next session. Lift daily and achieve your impossible. See ya.